of leadership and success. Visit csbsju.edu. That's csbsju.edu. Because choosing St. Ben's and St. John's with their campuses, their communities, their traditions means there's always more to explore.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Bachelor Happy Hour. I'm Joe.
And I'm Serena.
And we are here to recap episode 3 of Grant season. And then at the end of this episode, we are going to be having Beverly on for a quick chat because we see her departure in this episode and we don't really get, they
More
say
so we don't see her departure.
Yeah, we don't see her departure, but they say she's sick. So we're going to ask her a little more about what happened because it seemed like her and Grant could have potentially went somewhere considering he picked her as the other person on the one-on-one date.
Yeah, I liked her and I'm definitely looking forward to just checking in on her health and finding out more about what happened with that situation.
Yeah, okay, so let's get into it, shall we?
Let's do it. So we have
You're going to lead?
Pardon?
You're going to lead?
Sure.
Okay. I was just letting you know.
Do you want to lead?
No, I want you to lead. But
you want me to lead?
I was prepared to lead.
Oh, okay. You're welcome to take it away.
No.
Okay. I feel like I'm usually the one leading these recaps now.
Oh, okay.
I got all the detailed notes going on my phone.
So do I.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe you can lead next week.
I just hope I don't kick it out of order.
You know, it's not about leading. You know, this is just a conversation, just a friendly convo.
All right, let's have it.
So we have the first group date, and it's a pretty large group date. We find out right away. Basically, everyone's going on it except for Beverly, who is going to have the one-on-one date, and Carolina. And it's kind of giving finance bro Grant. The whole theme of the date is money education, financial knowledge.
They play that finance bro song.
What?
You didn't hear that?
What song?
The song that went viral on TikTok?
The one that's I'm looking for a man in finance. Did they play that?
Yeah.
No way. I totally missed that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which is so weird. I feel like I'm usually pretty good about picking up on
Yeah, that's what.
stuff.
The way you said it, I was like, yeah, they are you going to give a nod to the fact that it was a song? Because the way you said it, I was like, yeah, that's what we saw. But no, yeah.
Oh, I wish I picked up on that. That's fantastic that they use that song.
Yeah.
And we have 2 guest hosts for this date, if you will. We have Hannah Berner, who is a comedian and a former Bravo star on Summer House. And then we have Daniel Lubetsky, who is from Shark Tank. Both fantastic, but I mean, we have to give the gold star to Hannah Berner on this date. She really took control and led the class.
She hosted it, and she's very funny. We saw her do stand-up live.
Oh, yeah, we did.
Yeah,
she was great.
She's funny, and I thought she did a really good job. I like that she called herself out on, why the fuck am I on hosting a date about finance when I'm a comedian? Whatever.
No, it was, I'm glad she called that out, too, because when they came out, and I was like, okay, this dude from Shark Tank, yeah, makes sense. And then I was like, but how does Hannah Berner fit on this date? But she really did a good job of being I don't fit on this date, so I'm going to make this date fit for me.
And you could tell a lot of the girls were fans of her, definitely Bailey, who is playing the game in a direction that Hannah Berner would be like, yes, I'm choosing you.
100%. Bailey was working smarter, not harder on this date.
Yeah.
She knew who her audience was for these answers, and it wasn't Daniel, it was Hannah, and hence why she ended up winning. But
what did you think about Parisa sitting next to Grant?
I mean, I feel like that situation, because we've seen a few of these classroom style dates, it kind of happens every season. I personally like them. I think they're fun and a fun dynamic. And every season it feels like the chair next to the lead is both extremely coveted and also no one wants it. It's taboo.
Well,
I don't know.
You said when we were watching it that you wouldn't take that seat.
No, I probably wouldn't. But not for any reason of I think there's anything wrong with taking that seat. I just think there's a sense of nervousness around being ooh, I'm going to take the seat next to the lead, and then you're kind of putting yourself out there with Grant, and then it's also like this pressure to make the most of that moment when you're also doing like this group activity. I think it's like a bit of a blessing and a curse sitting in that spot. But I think she was a good person to do it because she has such a goofy personality and they clearly have a lot of fun together that I think she would be able to shine in that moment.
Yeah, I like her. She's really growing on me.
She's growing on me too. She definitely set a I didn't know how to read her in the first episode with the PowerPoint and everything.
Yeah.
And I just feel like she's continued on this streak of being really goofy. And the fact that Grant is totally into it makes it even more fun to watch.
Yeah.
What did you think of Zoe on this date? She definitely seemed to struggle. I feel like this is not uncommon. There's usually one or two girls on dates that are like major rule followers when it comes to the rules of the activity and the rules of the game that they're playing. And Bailey was obviously like, look, it's just fun. Like, this is not that serious. He doesn't actually care about if we know what ATM stands for. And Zoe definitely was the opposite of like, you ask a question, I give you an answer. And why aren't you guys giving proper answers?
I think what we saw with Zoe is basically the blueprint of how she's going to be the entire season. I don't think it's ever going to change. I don't think Zoe is ever going to be able to feel comfortable on a group date or in a group setting with these girls because they all have the same objective and she's a very competitive person. And just kind of like when we interviewed her, and she seems fairly like analytical and just like goal driven. Mm-hmm. And the goal right now is Grant. And I think anything that prohibits her to get to her goal, it's going to just totally throw her off. So like, to me, Zoe's someone that could be on a group date, have the most one-on-one time with Grant, it go really well. And then the night portion, Grant doesn't like pull her first and she's completely in her head. And I think we're going to see that the whole season with her. I mean, so far it's been kind of every episode.
Yeah, I agree. I think she's someone that's going to struggle. It was a little ironic because she was the person on the last group date that was the one bending the rules by like taking him up to the roof and being like, oh, it's my turn to shoot, but like the rules are there are no rules. Grant, let's go have some one-on-one time.
And now she's a rule follower.
Yeah. But I also think, she's an academic. She's a really smart cookie. She's good at school.
She's a smart cookie.
She is. And I think she took this as like a test that she could get an A+ on when she needed to almost like integrate her mentality from last week about like, it's just a group date. It's supposed to be fun. It's not that serious. Like, we're all playing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I agree.
She kind of went one extreme to the other.
Do we want to jump straight to her night portion with him? Because this is when she kind of breaks down and tells Grant, like, people are picking on her.
Yeah, let's jump to the night portion. Closing out the day, Bailey wins the Grant Buck. She's kind of rewarded for her creativity. I also think that Hannah Berner should come back and host more dates. I think she's actually like a perfect fit for hosting dates on this show.
Yeah, I think she'd be a great host.
Of the entire franchise?
Yeah.
Hannah, you heard it here first. All right, let's jump to the night portion. So Zoe shares her vulnerability. I don't think that makes sense. Zoe's vulnerable with Grant about being uncomfortable and out of her element on the group date. Allie Jo basically says this is the Bachelor, not the Zoe show. And I think that Allie Jo is someone that was really fed up with her last week and is just like still fed up with her.
Yeah. It seems like all the girls seem a little fed up with her. And then we hear the comment from Serafina that's the shortest dress I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Which you were like, that's pretty mean.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty mean.
I don't know. I don't find that mean. Like, I feel like if I just put myself in this situation, if I was on the group date and I was kind of having a hard time and kind of alienating myself, and then like somebody made a comment about my suit.
You would actually lose your mind.
You think so? Maybe. I don't think, like, out of all the things.
You don't like being criticized about your wardrobe.
I just think out of all the ways to be criticized, like being like, that's the shortest dress I ever seen. I don't know if that's a big enough reason to like bring that up to Grant.
I mean, I don't think it was just about the comment. I get what you're saying. I'm gonna like pull my girl card on this one and say like, I just think like as a girl, it's like a deeper thing than her just like criticizing her wardrobe choice.
Sure. Well, clearly there's a group of girls right now that I don't want to say they don't like Zoe, but they don't like vibe well with Zoe.
Well, yeah, the thing is I don't know. I feel like I'm going to be in the minority here. Maybe it's because we just had her on for an interview last week, but like I did feel kind of bad for Zoe, and I feel like she shared how she was feeling to the girls and just said like, I had a really hard time today and was really vulnerable. And I can kind of understand the girls' frustration because, again, it just seems like none of them are connecting with her. She really centered herself on the last group date, and they're probably putting their guards up of like, oh gosh, like what is this going to lead to now? Like we already had an entire group date surrounding around drama with Zoe, and are we now going to be dealing with that again? But it's hard to watch someone feel like an outsider and struggle emotionally and then watch the girls kind of turn on her for that. Like they could have just been like, hey, we're really sorry that you felt that way, and then minded their business. And it felt like they kind of, I don't know, used it against her a little bit. That might be a strong word. I don't know.
Hey, I'm
Intuit QuickBooks can give you a full picture view of
Is that chainsaw getting
Leukemia and Lymphoma Society.
or a data-hungry streamer? Telos flexible.
I don't think there's any reason, and I never think it's a good look to like pick on someone or be mean to someone. I personally, I just feel like Zoe, I agree. Like, I don't think there's any reason, and I never think it's a good look to like pick on someone or be mean to someone. But in the women's defense in this episode, Zoe is the competitive one.
Yes.
She's the one bringing the competitive nature to the group. So when you do that, it's probably going to be hard to connect with a group of girls who don't think that way.
Right. And I guess from their perspective, it's like Zoe came in really hot and really competitive from like night one with the t-shirt cannon. And now it's almost like I could see them taking it as like, well, she's just being a sore loser. Like the attention wasn't on her. She didn't win this group date. She didn't thrive. And like now she is crying about it.
And also Zoe's having a hard time, but has she asked any of the other girls if they're having a hard time? Like are those like, you know, the conversation goes both ways.
Right.
It's not always on someone to cater to your needs. Like you should have the conversation. If you're struggling, maybe go up to Serafina and be like, how do you feel? Like, are you struggling as well? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Wow, that's such a sweetie perspective, Joe.
Thank you.
How did you feel about Zoe telling Grant about it and Grant's response?
I'd like Zoe telling Grant just because we need a little bit of something. You know, you need a little bit of drama in the show. So, like, yeah, bring it on.
Yeah.
I thought Grant handled it really well.
I thought so, too. I was actually really impressed with his response, and I thought he did a really good job comforting her.
He seems, as of now, he seems that he will tackle any issue head on, like, immediately, which is how, like, I feel like I would go about it, like just like, okay, well then, like instead of letting it like simmer and drag on for episodes, like he really tries to tackle what's going on in the moment. So I like that.
Yeah, I like it too. I think he does a good job of like not being like, like leave me out of your shit, but then also not getting involved. I feel like he handles it in a very like clean, direct way of like, I don't tolerate this, like cut it out kind of thing. And also like making the person that is feeling hurt comforted.
Well, and I think him giving the group date rose to Parisa should be a sign to all the other women of like, let's have a little fun.
Yeah.
Like it's one thing, like we do want to get married and we want to take this serious, but I'm not going to be able to get to that level with you if we're not going to have a little bit of fun. And like, if the conversations you're having with Grant are about other women or feeling uncomfortable and, it's really early.
Yeah.
So I think good for Parisa. She's the one. What were they eating? They were like shoving
Rice Krispie treats. They were shoving them in their mouth, which was honestly so funny. It was like Chubby Bunny with Rice Krispies.
Yeah.
But I actually, I liked that she got the group date rose. I thought that was a surprising pick, but a telling pick. I also am just like kind of growing to be this fan of Parisa, so I was excited for her. He did address the group and say, I've heard some rumors about people belittling and we have to be kind to each other, because Zoe obviously didn't give a name. What do you think, and we can talk about this more later because it kind of comes up again as a theme this episode, what do you think about when girls bring drama to Grant and they don't give a name and then he asks for a name? And they like, what do you think you do? If you're going to bring drama to the lead, like, do you think you need to just be like, this is who did it? Or do you think you don't give a name? If they ask, do you give the name? Like, it does get kind of confusing.
They're half-assing it. It's like, if you want to, if you're going to go and do this, then do it all the way.
You think? You think you like come in hot and say like, so-and-so said this to me?
Yeah, or don't bring it to his attention, because he's going to want to know, and he's going to do his best to find out who it is. So it's like, either come with all the facts or don't come at all.
Yeah, I don't know. Because then on one hand, it's like, but what if you want to share the fact that you're having a really hard time, but you don't want it to become like war with the women in the house?
Then you could say, I'm having a really hard time. And then if he asks why, be like, I'm just not really getting along with all the women. But she directly called out a situation that was targeted towards her. Yes. Right, yeah. And then didn't want to give the name. Yeah. And I think Carolina almost did the same thing. I think she ended up saying Rose's name, but like it took a while.
Yeah.
And it's just like, well, I feel like it's one of those things where I feel like they go in wanting to tell Grant what went down, and then midway are like reversing, and they don't want to do it, and then they get caught up, and then they're like, now I'm in this situation.
Yeah. It's definitely something I feel like I don't know what my stance is on. It kind of depends on the situation, but I did think it was interesting that she didn't call it out, but then I think it was Juliana who actually had a really cute chat with Grant this episode.
Juliana called
her out directly. Yeah, she was like, okay, I think we can stop wasting our breath. Like, Zoe, what did you say to Grant? Which, like, I appreciate, like, let's cut the bullshit. Like, you all know it was Zoe. You all know what went down before, the night started. Like, let's just be direct here.
And Zoe's response was, I could chat whatever I want to chat about.
Yeah. I don't know what I was expecting, but that one caught me off guard. I was like, okay, yeah, slay. I guess you're right. You can chat with him whatever you want to chat about. I wonder if there was more conversation that went on after that comment. I feel like there might have been that we didn't see.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that closed out the conversation. It was like a mic drop. Let's all go to bed.
It's hard to watch all of it, to be honest. Because
how so?
Well, on one hand, I always feel bad for the person that feels alone and it's by themselves and feels like they're getting pushed around or whatever the case may be. And then on the other hand, it's like, well, you committed to a social experiment of a show with a group of people who are all going through the same thing. So it's like you also have to bend a little bit and play the game, because we're all here trying to do the same thing. Yeah. And it's always just like, this just never goes well for any of the main participants involved.
100%. And I think it's evident. I don't know if Zoe has experienced this throughout most of her life or if this is strictly on this show, but she's definitely struggling to connect, to make friends with the other women. And it might just boil down to her specific personality is not the most conducive to this environment, and that is going to make things really hard on her. And it doesn't justify the girls being mean to her in any way, but she might have to like put in a little more effort than the average person, because it's not going to make it any easier for you if you can't have some friends in the house that like you can rely on and they feel like they can rely on you too.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a messy situation. But okay, so the next morning, literally everyone's crying. We've got like 6 of them sobbing surrounding the house.
Just seems a little, I mean, I was like, this is a little ridiculous.
It did feel ridiculous for sure, but I will make an assumption here that could be wrong, but watching Alex just like cuddle up on the couch sobbing, it was kind of giving a mix of like genuine stress and like, you know, she seemed upset about the situation. She expressed that like they've really been trying to be friends with Zoe and they have not been succeeding. So like it's frustrating that they're getting pulled into this drama with her when like there's not much more they can do, which I thought was an interesting piece of insight into what's going on in the house. But it was also giving like she seemed really overtired, like that kind of like I'm exhausted cry of like, you know, not trying to invalidate her feelings here, but I've been on the show and like those first few weeks, it's a huge adjustment, a new environment, new people, you're high stress, high emotions, and you're really not sleeping. Like I wanted to be like, all of y'all, you need to go back to bed for 3 more hours or sneak in a nap today, because, you know, emotions are flying wild. I think a little, you know, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like we need sleep and food to survive. Like we need a little extra sleep here to kind of get our emotions in check and a little perspective on how dramatic this situation actually is.
Whose hierarchy of needs? What did you just say?
Maslow's, isn't that right? Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like
Above
like
my pay grade.
It's like the pyramid of like what a human needs to survive, from base level to like the most important to the least important. Nice. Okay. Anyway. Okay, let's move on to Carolina's one-on-one date. We've spent a lot of time on that first group date.
Yeah. I mean, I would say just the date itself, there's not much to really talk about. They jump off of a building.
Yeah. Which looked just absolutely horrifying and terrible and scary, but like I would pick that over skydiving or bungee jumping.
They seem to be having fun.
Yeah.
I would say the part to talk about is the night portion.
Yep.
Where she discloses that she was very emotional, and she disclosed that she had epilepsy, and not everyone that has been in her life has been kind about, or I wouldn't say kind about it, but haven't
been able to be supportive and
Yeah.
there for her. Yeah, watching it, I was maybe not confused, just like aware of how ignorant I am to epilepsy. Like I really don't know anything about it other than the fact that you're prone to seizures. So I did, you know, ask around.
Well, in my head, I was just like, what kind of a friend would no longer be your friend because
you have epilepsy? No, I know. That was what I was wondering too. But it does seem like I talked to someone about it and they were saying like when you're in a relationship with someone with epilepsy, like it is a team effort. Like it does require a lot of, you know, managing triggers, and it's more than just like you take medication and like you're good to go. So I could totally understand why maybe she was nervous sharing that with Grant, if she has lost people in the past due to her epilepsy. But yeah, like who are these girls and guys that are being like, oh, like you have epilepsy, like you're on your own, girl, I'm out. Like, good knowing you. Like,
that's what I'm saying.
It's wild.
It seems like a very particular disease to be like, nah.
Yeah, not this one. Keep it far away from me. Yeah, no, I was like, whoa, that's heavy.
I guess she said, I guess even things like concerts, you know, or any like, you know, certain venues, sporting events or whatnot that may trigger the epilepsy or trigger, you know, for her to have a seizure, and then people get fed up with that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we will have her on the podcast at some point, hopefully, so we can definitely dive more into her experience with epilepsy, how it affects her on a day-to-day basis. I think there's like, we don't know much about it, obviously, and she is kind of sounds like the person to share her experience and help us understand it better.
Yep.
So jumping to the one-on-one that never happened, Beverly, we really liked her. I remember from the headshots, we were like, oh, I feel like she could be up there, or at least I did. She popped for me. And all of a sudden she was gone. No interview, no nothing, no goodbye. She was out.
Well, luckily we're going to have her on at the end of this episode, so we'll get into why she left.
Yeah. So instead, what I'm assuming was the activity plan for Beverly's one-on-one date, they turned into a group date. This would be challenging because not only did he only take 3 girls, like it's only 2 people more than a one-on-one, 1 person more than a 2-on-1. It's the smallest group date I've ever seen.
Yeah.
These are already girls that have had a date that week. So it's basically saying like, these are the 3 girls that Grant wants more time with. Like, to me, if I'm sitting in that house, I'm like, all right, so those are his 3 favorite girls for sure.
Wait, they were all on the group date?
They were all on the first group date.
Okay.
So it was like, you get a second date this week. It was like a bonus prize. And then Latia gets that night one-on-one. I'd be like, all right, I'm out.
Well,
He's
Latia,
proposing to her.
I mean, after watching this episode, Latia looks like she is leading the pack.
I don't know if we've ever been so bang on with a headshot prediction as we were with Latia.
Yeah.
Truly. Guys, like if you're listening, like we did not know when we do the headshots. Like we don't know anything. So like the fact that it's going this well, I mean, I've impressed myself.
Lisa Vanderpump's on the date.
I know, our second Bravo cameo, I'm kind of surprised.
Audience.
So on this date, we have Latia, Serafina, and Dina. He seems to have great connections with all of them. It was a nice date to be able to kind of see his relationships unfolding with these 3 girls because you kind of got more time. And then the night portion with Latia was at City Hall, which I was originally like, City Hall? Like, what? But it was gorgeous. And I like that she said the way she teed up the conversation with him of, I want to hear more about your family life. I've heard a little bit, but I want to hear it from you. Just felt kind of very honest and like a warm way to open the floor for him to share his family dynamic in a safe space.
Yeah, it feels like they're taking steps forward.
Yes.
In their relationship. They're having like real conversations about their past, their families, and that's usually like the first sign of like, okay, this is becoming a serious relationship out of the group.
Yeah, my assumption would be he's not opening up and diving into his family history in detail with every single woman there. So to see him do that to the extent that he did, and then, you know, was so engaged and asking her meaningful questions about her family as well. They got to FaceTime her mom, which, I mean, having been there, like, that just means everything to her. I can only imagine. Like, I would literally have killed for FaceTime with my mom while I was on the show. So I thought that was also very telling. Yeah, I think this relationship's going really far, if not all the way. I really, really love her, and I think that they are a great fit from what we've seen so far. We got the string quartet. They do a little dancing.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, there's nothing. To me right now, if I were to say like who he has the strongest connection with or who he likes the most, it's going to be Latia.
Yeah. I think so too. And I think the fact that he had a group date with her, chose her for this mini group date, and then also chose her for the one-on-one is a sign that he thinks she could be the one also.
1,000%. And then we go back to the house. So Carolina is now, like she's
spiraling.
She's spiraling, and she's kind of making so far everything about her.
She does say, we see while Latia's on her date, she says, I kind of wish that I didn't even have that one-on-one date. Yeah. Which is, I actually can understand what she's saying as someone who had an early one-on-one on the season I was on. It does make it harder in ways, but you just don't say, like, it was just a tone deaf comment. You just don't say that to girls who have not yet had a one-on-one date. And like at the end of the day, you're never going to sacrifice your one-on-one date, even though it's made it more challenging for you emotionally, or at least I wouldn't. I don't think most people would.
I just hate when people go on this show and act like they don't understand why the lead is also into other people. Like, what show do you think you're fucking on? Like, it's of course, like, you have to go on The Bachelor or Bachelorette comfortable with the person that you may fall in love with is also falling in love and talking to other people. That is what the show is. If the show was just about a one-on-one relationship, then okay, then you could be upset. But it's like, you're not the only one here.
Yeah.
And on top of it, like, I get it more when it's like there's 4 left. And you're like, holy fuck, I might actually get engaged to this person.
Yes.
And this is really, but when you are 2 weeks in, it just, to me, it's like, do you not know what show you're on?
Yeah, it's just kind of an indicator that this might not be the right environment for her. It's just, it is challenging and it's not right for everyone. And I can see that she's really struggling, and this is not the first time we've seen that. Should we dive into the her and Rose situation? We've got Carolina totally freaking out. She has a Rose, but she's like on the verge of sending herself home. She basically is saying that Rose and her, it sounds like they were, probably off camera, pre-bedtime, comparing notes, which don't do this. If you guys ever go on the show, do not compare notes with anyone. You can gab away, but like, you're setting yourself up to potentially be hurt or hear something you don't want to hear if you're comparing notes with someone else. Keep that shit private. So anyway, they compare notes. Rose says to Carolina that Grant told her when Grant was dancing with Carolina, he was actually thinking of Rose. He was thinking of her.
Now, in Carolina's defense, if I heard that and I'm her, that I understand if she's
I'm freaking out too. Yeah.
Because that is kind of like, well, what the fuck?
Well, I'm like, okay, so you don't like me.
Yeah.
You like me definitely less than Rose.
Yeah.
And even if you do like me, you've disrespected me by saying that to someone else here.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, do I even want to be with you if you're running your mouth saying shit like that to other girls?
So in that aspect, I do feel for Carolina, because that would be that is a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah, I'm kind of with her on this one. I'm kind of with her. I don't think you should compare notes, but they did what they did, and I don't blame her for being really upset by what she heard. Yeah. I would be really upset too. So she tells Grant.
Yeah.
What do you think of the conversation?
I mean, yeah, I feel like we were talking about earlier, when you come with that kind of information that's about someone else, like, don't sugarcoat it. Just say who it is, because now he's guessing. It was actually pretty funny how he just guessed it was Bailey.
He guessed Bailey right away. I was like, okay, like, I'm sorry to say this, but Bailey, you're going home tonight.
Yeah.
Like, he said Bailey first, and like with confidence that it was going to be her. I was like, whoa.
Yeah. And I'm actually sad that she left, because I liked her.
I know, but I do think his concern with Bailey, based on his, conversation with her on the group date, was she was maybe just a little bit too silly. He was looking for something a little more serious.
Yeah. But yeah, it was just kind of one of those things. Okay, just say it, because he's gonna find out, and then he finds out it's Rose. Then he calls out Rose, and Rose admits that she said it.
Yeah, she said, she's not denying it. She definitely said that to Carolina. She says to Grant, "I thought that was something I heard you say."
Yeah.
Which, her response just made me be like, "Oh, you're not coming in very hot here with a, like, you did say this to me this time, this place." So it's like, how sure were you that he said that to you, Rose? I
kind of feel, I mean, listen,
I feel bad for her too.
Watching it, I feel bad for her, because I'm just like.
And she's been spiraling. She's been having a hard time. I think she handled the conversation with Grant as best she could. Like, she apologized. She owned her mistake. Like, there's not much else you can do in that situation.
My biggest question around all of it is, if Grant did say that to Rose, why would Rose
say it to Carolina?
Because
I know.
A, it's going to make her feel bad.
Yeah.
And B, it's...
Well, because, that's not just like a sweet thing he said to her. That's something like he blatantly said against Carolina.
And also, it's private. It's also private information for you to kind of know that you're sitting pretty high up there with the lead.
If he's saying that to you.
So why are you even giving this information out? Because this information privately is beneficial to you. And then if you give it out, all that's going to do is hurt your chances with the lead.
100%. She shouldn't have said it. I feel like she was spiraling, and
I would like to see that conversation.
well, that's my thing. Like,
show us
roll
that
the
conversation.
Tape. Roll the tape. What did he say? Did he say it? Or did he say some version of it? Or did he say something that could have been taken differently? Like, where's the miscommunication? Because the Carolina and Rose conversation, I'm going to assume happened off camera and mic'd, right?
Yeah, but I would like to see that
the
one
Rose
too.
and obviously, I like to see everything. Rose and Grant's conversation is mic'd on camera. It was on a date. So, like, someone roll the tape back and get me a clip and air it at Tell All, because we can actually fact check this and find out what was really said, you know? And I care. I want to know.
I mean, he denied it. He denied it with confidence.
Yeah. He didn't even know who she was talking about, meaning like he wasn't even like, oh, I said something along those lines to Rose. I know where this is going.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want to know if he said it. I want to know more about the comparing notes conversation.
Yeah, and then let's really quick just touch on the girls that went home.
Yeah, well, the girls were really pissed. Sounds like I feel like we're seeing like really condensed versions of a lot of the drama this season. Obviously, for timing, that's how it has to go. But the girls were like, so many of the girls were like, it cut into my time tonight. So it must have gone on for a lot longer than what we saw in terms of like people were like, Carolina's talked to him like 10 times.
Yeah. Bailey went home. I don't know why he sent her home. Bailey went home. Chloe went home.
I know. I love her.
Yeah,
I feel like she's just like so cool, so elegant. I want to see her in Paradise for sure.
Yeah, I liked her too.
She seemed very down to earth. I think like she could have a chance of finding love for sure.
Yeah, she's definitely one of those people where when she was giving interviews, she was very like captivating,
very natural on camera. Who else? Let's see. Let me pull up our list. We said bye to Beverly, obviously, Bailey, Chloe, and Allie Joe. Allie Joe is, I think we're going to see her in Paradise because she's got a real feisty personality. And yeah, we didn't get to see a lot of her connection with Grant really at all.
Yeah, I think Allie Joe's issue was there probably just wasn't really a strong connection with her in the lead. And when you're in that situation, it's kind of like, well, what else am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
And she probably just became involved in the drama. I was like, well, let's give me something to do.
Yeah, I don't really see it with her and Grant, if I'm being honest, and I see it more with Zoe and Grant.
Okay, so let's bring in Beverly because I actually want to find out what happened with her.
Okay, let's do it.
Beverly, welcome to Bachelor Happy Hour. How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys? Thanks for having me on.
Of course.
We're good. Thanks for coming on. So let's just dive right into the elephant in the room. You were there and then you were gone.
Yeah, because I mean, you get a early one-on-one, so it must have been serious for you not to be able to go on that.
Yeah. So many emotions. So as you guys saw, the date card came and they said whoever's name is on this date card, you're going on the one-on-one. So it was a group date of 12 and then the last two were going on a one-on-one. And Parisa and I, we were close in the house. She's sitting next to me. She's like, you're getting the one-on-one. You're getting the one-on-one. I'm like, there's no chance. Like, there's no way. And they're reading name by name by name by name. And mine's not being called. And it gets to the last name. And I'm like, oh my God, I really might be getting the one-on-one. And lo and behold, it was me and Carolina. And I was honestly so happy because I'm very close with my family and I am very emotional. And I wasn't on the show, which is strange. But for some reason that day I woke up so sad, missing home, missing my mom, my dad. And so getting the one-on-one kind of like solidified, like, okay, I'm here and it's for a good reason. And Grant sees and feels what I'm seeing and feeling. And it was really reassuring and nice. Like you said, Joe, getting a one-on-one so early on, it's like kind of puts a target on your back. And it's like, oh my God, like, you know, her and Grant probably have a really good connection to get it so early on. So I was honored.
Okay, so what? So then
what happened? Yeah,
because then all we see, we're like, wait a minute, and then they're like, okay, Beverly's gone, she's sick. Like, did you have the flu? Like what went down?
Yeah, no, I wish I had the flu.
Yeah.
So the girls leave, and I honestly was so excited because I'm like, we're gonna have the whole day to ourselves. I'm gonna get to eat, sleep, just relax, no drama. And I take a nap and I wake up, my stomach's hurting. I'm like, okay, maybe I just need to go to the bathroom, or like the food didn't sit well. And I start throwing up. I'm like, okay, maybe I just need to get it out, whatever. So my stomach is continuing to hurt. I'm like in excruciating pain. I'm continuing to throw up.
Yeah.
It's like a mess. This goes on for 12 hours.
At this point, are you thinking like, I have food poisoning?
So I have anxiety and like diagnosed and everything. And sometimes my panic attacks like cause me to puke, but like
Totally.
I didn't feel anxious. If anything, I was like, I'm living life. I'm getting a one-on-one. I'm in the house alone. Like I have all this time. So I knew something was not right. I was like, I
Right.
know my body. I'm listening to my body. Something is not okay. So I wasn't sure if it was food poisoning. I thought maybe. And my whole stomach was hurting. So it's not like one side was hurting. I didn't think it was like anything serious. I was like, okay, maybe I'm just in really bad stomach pain. And at this point, because I had gone so long throwing up, I was like, this is probably why my stomach's hurting even more, because now I have nothing in my tummy. So they end up taking me to the hospital because I was not okay. They gave me IV. I was there for 3 hours. They gave me morphine. The pain finally went away. But I was like, what is wrong with me? So after 3 hours of being in the ER, the doctor came in and he's like, you have appendicitis and you're going to need emergency surgery.
Oh my God.
No.
Yeah.
Well, I figured, I know they didn't obviously say what it was on the show, but we assumed it must have been something really severe, because had it just been, food
Right.
poisoning or a stomach flu or something, they would have maybe taken you and then brought you back, and just for it to be like, you're gone for good.
Right. Yeah.
I was like, what happened?
Yeah. And I, again, at that point, like still was not really processing. Like, again, I am a crier. I am emotional. Did not cry one time. I was like, okay, like my family isn't here. My friends are here. Like I'm about to have major surgery on an organ.
Yeah.
I already in 2018 got my gallbladder removed. Now my appendix is being removed. I'm like losing organs left and right. I'm like, what is going on?
Where do you live?
I live in New York.
Okay, and then you
So
have
I'm like,
so basically you're in California. And you have to have
thousands.
emergency
Right.
surgery.
Yeah.
You're like, you want to take anything else out while we're at it?
Right. Like what else? I told the doctor, I'm like, if you want to cut a little something while you're down there, I give you full permission. But yeah, I called my parents. Obviously, my dad was like, get on the next flight, like have surgery here. I'm like, I can't. Like my appendix can explode mid-flight. Like it was not safe for me to fly. So yeah, I was really, really sad. Honestly, it took me like a month and a half to like recover emotionally. Physically, obviously, I was, okay. But emotionally, I was not, I left
Yeah.
with like the what if, and like obviously like we were building a connection. He saw and felt like exactly what I was seeing and feeling. And I know like they didn't show a lot of our moments, but like we did have a lot of cute little moments. They never showed us kissing. Like we kissed, so like not the first night. I thought I was going home the first night because I was one of the only girls that didn't get a kiss. I'm like, oh my God. But yeah, I was really sad, really, really bummed out. And I didn't get to say goodbye to him. I didn't get to tell him what happened. So I was like, I hope he didn't think that like I left just because,
No, I'm sure they updated him like, hey, your girl Beverly's in emergency surgery. She's not coming back. How long was the recovery process
I was just going to ask that.
before you were able to fly home?
Oh, so surgery was on a Wednesday. I got sick on a Tuesday. Surgery was Wednesday. My mom had to fly in to pick me up on Thursday, and then I went home Friday.
Yay,
so I
Mom.
literally like so quick. Yeah.
Was there any talks about potentially like having the surgery and then going back on the show, or is like
Yeah.
recovery time like you need to like take it easy for months?
I wanted to stay on, but I think it was best for me to just go home and recover. Also because as you know, like eventually they start flying places.
Right.
So it wasn't safe or smart for me to like fly as I'm recovering from a surgery. And as you guys know, like you've been on the show, it's long days, late nights. And like, I was sad about leaving, but once I got home and everything like settled in, I was like, honestly, the best decision was for me to come home and recover, because like it was a lot. Like I took so many things with me. Like I was not going to be okay flying with all those luggages. And it was better for me to come home. But like,
no, 100%. I can't imagine like having surgery and then you're flying like 13, 14-hour flights. You're on a time change, filming like I could like, as you know, is really hard on your body already when you're like healthy. And then God forbid you get like an infection or something when you're in a different country. Like I can totally understand just being like, Mom, take me home.
Yeah. My mom came and she was really sweet. My dad was like so sad, but you know, everything happens for a reason. I was like, what are the odds that my appendix will act up the day, like days before I get, first of all, on the show, and then days before I get a one-on-one? Like, what are the odds?
I know, this is a first for sure.
It's horrible, horrible experience for you.
I was like, Grant is not your person, okay? Like
the universe is just trying to redirect you.
Well, and this makes sense too, that we don't really see much of, because you have a great personality, and Grant clearly likes you from the beginning. And like we don't see much of you, but now this all kind of like
makes sense.
This all makes sense.
I know. I'm sad because I'm like, America didn't get to really see me. Like I'm silly and funny and goofy, and like I obviously have a serious side to me as well. But like, I was looking forward to the one-on-one, because I also, again, like I said, I deal with anxiety, and like I was obviously going to open up to Grant about that, which is a really huge part of my life. And like I wanted to see like what his reaction was, if it was something that he was able to like handle. And so I was excited to finally get to like open up more and for us to talk. And, you know, on a one-on-one, that's where you like really, really connect. And, you know, so it was really sad that we didn't get that moment. But
do you think, speaking of everything happens for a reason, do you think that you would be interested in doing Paradise if they asked you to? Because I feel like we, you know, didn't get to see much of you, but obviously there was a lot there, and you kind of got gypped from your experience due to your health issues.
Yeah, 1,000%. Only because I feel like if I would have made it further, I probably wouldn't have considered Paradise. But because I like didn't make it that far, yes, because I do want to get married. Like that is, I'm 30 years old. I'm ready for kids and family. I've always been like a relationship type of girl. And so that was like my intention going on the show. So yeah. And obviously on Paradise, there's more options, you know, you get to kind of like date around. So yeah, I would definitely be interested.
Okay. Well, fingers crossed for you. We would love to see you there. I mean, we don't get to make that decision whatsoever, but you know, if they're listening, and we would love to see you there.
Yeah. And obviously like I am a fan of the show. So like watching Paradise, I see like how successful it is. Obviously like the two of you,
we're biased.
You know, so many times. Yeah, I know. I love Paradise too. I feel like it's a different vibe. Like it's more chill. Like, I mean, from what I've seen,
it is,
you know, and everyone's just like mingling and you have options. It's not like as serious, but it is. So it's a different dynamic. And like, I'm excited if I get the chance to go on.
I have a good feeling. I don't think this is the last we're going to be seeing of you, but also I have no idea. So Beverly, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day and coming on Bachelor Happy Hour.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for having me. I hope you get to see me again soon too.
Absolutely. And to all our listeners, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and make sure you download and subscribe.
Yeah, we have the one and only Grant Ellis on later this week for a exclusive interview. So don't forget to tune in. Thanks for listening. Bye.